I've played every open world ocean survival game I could find, and none of them have impressed me. Yes, they scratch the itch that was once created by the books of Daniel Defoe, but not a single game has truly been an experience that I'd like to revisit. Let's take everyone's favorite, Raft. You wake up in the middle of the ocean on a raft and you use your hook to grab resources and build out your raft. You make an anchor and drift to different islands where you can get new resources for improving your raft. Eventually, you find a receiver, antenna, and coordinates to travel to, set your sail, and explore location after location to find out what happened to the world, why it's all water, and where all the people are. I like the gameplay loop, and for the first half of the game, it's genuinely exciting to find new resources and uses for them. However, once you get past that first half, you begin to see just how shallow the game is. Every island has either flowers and ores, bears and bees, caves and hogs, or some mix. After a bit of time, you learn to distinguish them, and there's no joy of discovery. Even though you're swimming in the world ocean, it's like you know it all by heart. And this lack of content is especially visible on story islands, where the devs chose to put nonsensical puzzles that are neither fun nor are meaningful additions to the story. And don't get me started on the questionable choice of punishing people for using save files and backing them up, where you lose all your inventory if you dare attempt to restore a save or make a clean installation of Windows. So for me, Raft is bittersweet. I can't give it anything higher than a B because the game gets you high on the strong start and then disappoints you with a poor follow through. It's the same with Stranded Deep. At first I was excited about the interesting mechanics and how you need to find barrels to make rafts, and I loved venturing out for resources and shipwrecks. It was a genuinely fun experience until I began noticing the lack of meaningful difference between islands and lacking the incentive to travel to them. And the story is just as much an afterthought as it is in Raft. I won't spoil it, but spending so much time just to find different animals and fight them so that you can finish the game was not just unfun, but also did not make any sense to me story-wise. I would close my eyes on this if the bosses actually dropped some loot that you needed to advance. For example, if there was a sperm whale that you had to defeat because it had eaten some part of an airplane that you needed to fix. But, alas. I give it a C. Subnautica is another one that is highly loved by the gaming community. In this one, your spaceship crashes on an unknown ocean planet and you get ejected from it before the crash. Your lifepod lands nearby and your goal is to gather resources to make tools necessary to explore the wreck, to find other lifepods in hopes of finding other survivors, and to find a way to escape from this planet. As you do, you find weird alien creatures and some clues as to why your spaceship fell in the first place. It's a good game, but I found the mechanics outdated, inventory management extremely time-consuming, and the story hard to connect with. Yes, the game is good, but at this point I've grown to expect higher quality from such games. If you play it now rather than in 2018, it doesn't bring anything new to the table. It might have defined the genre and spawned hundreds of copycats, but for me as a late Subnautica bloomer, it was just another indie game. The monsters were more annoying than scary, the resource gathering loop was tedious and slow, and I hated that I had to return to the same place multiple times. Which is why I made my progression guide that I will always plug when talking about Subnautica. It's spoiler free and helps immensely to save your time. Overall, I give the game the same rating as Raft. And then there's Sunken Land. Oh, Sunken Land. In Sunken Land, you swim endlessly through a lifeless ocean like a shark, and then pop your head out of the water when you see a boat or an island to see if it's not too hostile to put a foot on. Then you claim an island, build a boat, and go exploring other islands. It's more like a Mad Max in the ocean rather than a survival simulator. There are factions and mutants that occupy islands in this post-apocalyptic world that you have to fight and take islands from. When you do, you get progressively better resources to make better weapons so that you can fight tougher enemies. Very often, you will get raided by them and have to defend your tiny patch of land. The gathering of resources here is well done, the problem is with progression. For example, you spawn in the middle of the ocean with lots of wooden structures around you and you need an axe to recover wood, but you cannot make an axe without wood, so you have to first swim to a neutral island and find branches. This is a common theme throughout the whole playthrough. Once you build a research station to get advanced equipment, you very soon get raided by people with crossbows, which you don't yet have access to yourself. Similarly, copper ore is needed for everything, but is hard to acquire without having to face tens of enemies with guns. Thankfully, a 3-year-old could outsmart this AI, so that's your advantage in this game. For how much combat focused this game is, the combat is incomprehensibly bad. I would not choose this game over other shooting games if it wasn't the setting of island survival, but survival aspects themselves are secondary in this game, which means it can't compete with games like Green Hell or Winter Survival either. The game gets a D from me. I have also played Survival Fountain of Youth, you can check my review here. TLDR is that it's buggy, but at least it has actual survival elements and the story is good. The way you get new resources is fun, and I can't complain about the lack of content as every region has different biomes and different challenges to deal with. I think it's a great way to structure a survival game to keep it interesting all throughout. But before you actually get to experience all the different islands and biomes, you're stuck on the first one, which is not interesting at all. This creates the odd situation where the game is more interesting in the end game than early on, compared to the other games on this list. I think the game could have been awesome if it had a bigger budget or at the very least spent a little longer in the oven, but it is what it is. Indie games don't always have such a luxury. The highest rank I can give it is a C. There's also Voyagers of Nera, which is very early access. It's the only game on this list that I could not finish. It's a fantasy setting and thus has very little in common with the games I mentioned previously. It tries to be a high-stakes RPG and while doing so it fails to be a survival game. It's a definite miss if you're looking for a semi-realistic island survival game. I give it an E. I couldn't enjoy it no matter how hard I tried. Don't Starve Shipwrecked DLC on the other hand is a brilliant game with hardcore survival at its core, but it's also not realistic. It's also 2.5D and overall doesn't really scratch the itch of island survival. For me, when I'm thinking of island survival, I want to feel like Robinson Crusoe, like Tom Hanks in Castaway. Here, the nature of the game never makes you feel that way. So while I'm going to give Don't Starve the A rank, based on it just being such a great game, keep in mind that it's an outlier and has an unfair advantage over all the other games in this list. It is, however, a very good survival crafting game that I recommend to everyone who isn't dead set on 3D. Another thing that is a core part of survival games like this is base building, something that I'm also on a constant lookout for all the time. Out of all the games mentioned, the only one where I enjoyed building was Survival Fountain of Youth. It has a lot more variety than any of the others, and the way you discover new things incentivizes you to explore further. The only option that was lacking for me there was the ability to paint your walls or have some skins for buildings. And I should also mention that there are several games in development that look promising. If you're from the future, check out Project Castaway Under a New Sun and Escape the Pacific. I hope that one of them can one day take the crown as the best open world island/ocean survival game. I'm still waiting for the perfect island survival game that captures the raw beauty of untouched nature, the thrill of discovery, and the deep satisfaction of building a life from nothing, while making the ocean feel as vast and full of mysteries and opportunities as in real life. Do you know any other game that I haven't played yet? Anything new to keep an eye on? Share the name in the comments. And if you're not dead set on ocean survival, may I interest you in checking out these other reviews.